my Neon pigment tutorial. I'm going to show you how to use it with acrylic. So I've got a clear tip attached with clear acrylic to my pop stick. I'm using CJP monomer, the fast setting monomer, the Master, and one of their, I believe, slower powders, the bright white, but you can use whichever white powder you've got. So I'm going to lay a base of white acrylic down to start with on my pop. Make sure you keep your brush clean. I find white's one of the worst for getting stuck in your brush, so do keep your brush as clean as you can. See, it gets a bit stuck for some reason, unless that's just me. My brush may not be clean enough actually. I've just had a client and I perhaps haven't cleaned it as well as I might. So patting and pulling the acrylic down the tip. Now if you were to do this on a person, I'd maybe use your white base coat of acrylic fairly thinly. I perhaps wouldn't put the strength in then. Personally, I would put the strength in at the end with your clear, because you're going to want to use your pigments on top and you may make it too bulky if you're not careful. I stand corrected, it's my brush that's not clean enough, nothing to do with the acrylic. Been bad. So you can kind of brush it, pat it down the nail, brush it smooth. You can see my brush isn't clean now because I have a bit of line in it. That was my own fault. Might need a soaking monomer at the end. So this time I'm going to use a fairly wet bead of the white just to fill in any gaps that I'm not very happy with. And do my top bead at the top as normal. I find myself a little impatient with these slower powders now. I'm a little bit more experienced. I do tend to smear them, which is bad. Slap on wrist for me. So I'm going to now get my disgusting pot of clear acrylic. I tend to have one mucky pot if I'm practicing, just to make sure I don't get it all gross. But it's just for the purposes of the video, it's not the end of the world. So I'm going to pick up quite a wet bead, and then I'm going to dip straight into my pigment, picking up plenty of that pigment, and then we're just going to press it in. You might find it a little bit see-through. If you want to use them as paint, that's absolutely fine. It's probably the best way to use them, in fact, but you will just have to be patient and wait a little tiny bit perhaps. I'm going to draw that one down slightly. This perhaps isn't the best way of doing neon acrylic. It's just if you didn't want to buy extra neon acrylics and you had the powders already, this is just one way of doing it to make life a bit easier. And the same goes for any other type of coloured pigment, like eyeshadow pigment, anything like that will still work. God knows what that was in my acrylic. This is why I have a disgusting pot of acrylic and a good one. So we'll pick up some orange. Just kind of let it melt into the acrylic slightly. Remember, this is the first time I've ever done this too, so I'm just playing. I'm not saying this is the right way. I'm just trying it out because we need to learn these things. I'm probably going to run out of room. So, pink. Yeah, and don't dip it into your acrylic and then find you've left your acrylic in there. That's not very good. And the pink's a good colour. I'm noticing you don't get quite as smooth an effect as you would if you were using the proper coloured powders, but that's okay. I'm going to go for purple instead this time, I think. It's quite deep coloured, the purple. I like that, that's nice. Right, I'm going to try the blue by itself without any acrylic powder now and just see what happens. Does it do the same job? Yes, it does. In fact, that's probably better. I'm a big believer of learn by doing. So don't be afraid to play with some of these things. It's not the end of the world. As long as your brush is clean, I can't see why there's any reason why you can't just go straight into your powder. And we'll probably have to dig a little bit out of what I've just made a mess of. And there that is. It just lifts out, so it's not really a problem. Yeah, see? Even though I thought I made a mess of my new powders, I haven't, so it's fine. And if your monomer gets contaminated, obviously get rid of it. You don't want it all gross. And providing it's clean, I might have a bit more blue. Yeah, maybe that's the way to do it. Just literally go straight into your powders. Seems to be working quite well. So, that's just a quick job. I would now cap in clear with my decent clear, not my rubbish one. Maybe start where you started at the top, so that everything's had a chance to set. So when you're working with these stiletto tips, they are going to require quite a lot more acrylic. If you want to find anything about the products, they're all in the link below. But I do like my CJP. I think it's wonderful stuff. I have tried some others and not been very impressed with them. Everybody's different. You've got to just find what works best for you. So again, patting, pressing down the pop. Trying not to pick up disgusting things out of my crystal glass. I promise I'll have a spare pot for my clients. It's another reason sometimes it's a good idea to decant some of your powder into another pot. I saw some good tea light holders in Wilkinson's yesterday that would have made a lovely job very cheaply. So, that's how it would look unfiled.